Companies that are 150 times bigger than us are scared of us. I'm sure that they're annoyed, and that makes me happy.
You know, there is something kind of refreshing about a budget phone from a company that doesn't have a bunch of more expensive phones in their lineup to protect.
I'm not sure other companies compromise on the mid-range for their flagship, but what I think happens is they put the best people on the flagships. So as a result of that, the flagships become a lot better. And also they have such a big portfolio of products that it doesn't really matter if one or two don't really make it.
But you might be wondering about AI, because I don't know if you've noticed, but Nothing is one of the last big name smartphone companies that isn't heavily pushing a ton of AI stuff in their new phones.
I like big name, like we're now 0.1% of the market, so I think it's quite far away from big name. So I think everybody sees that AI is going to be a huge thing, but products should help people in their day-to-day lives. I don't think technologies should be a way for companies to just thump their own chest and say, hey, it's AI, AI, AI. Look at the technology available, and then you try and figure out what problems you're trying to solve and make a product that really works well for that.
I have this personal rule where I won't dump my life into something if it's not multi-platform. And this isn't, it's just on this phone, so there's no web version of this. I can't access this on my computer or a tablet or anything else like that. So I'm not gonna dive all in on something like this, but maybe someday in the future, could be cool.
This is more like a preview. There's a lot of stuff that we have in the roadmap for Essential Space. It's gonna get a lot more powerful. For instance, being able to sync some of these reminders and notes with calendar and with other apps that you use, so more integrations, so it just fits into your workflow and your life a lot better. But I think Marquez brings up a good point, and after seeing this video, I called up the team to have a look at it, because I do think it should be multi-platform, at least on the browser, so it'd be good to be able to access it some other way.
Nothing has dropped two phones at the same time this year. The 3A Pro on the left and the regular blue 3A on the right.
People complain that we didn't release the phone 2A and the phone 2A Plus at the same time, so then we just released these two phones at the same time this year, so hopefully there's one less thing to complain about.
A zoom lens or zoom camera requires a bit of extra distance between the lens and the camera sensor. The longer the lens, the longer you can zoom. Instead of Nothing making the phone over an inch thick in just one spot, which would be kind of funny actually, they decided to extend the sensor out horizontally and use a prism or mirror to redirect the light into the sensor.
Okay, completely ruined it. More and more people are using 2x, 3x, or 2x when they take photos, because it just doesn't distort the edges as much and it just looks like a better picture. But now with 3x, it's even nicer. You can get a lot closer to the subject. Yeah, we wanted to democratize this technology. This is maybe the only sub $500 phone with this technology.
Man, seriously, how does this thing even wirelessly charge with like, oh, do they not have wireless charging? That's a downer. Yep, no coils.
Like, we're just trying to create a really good product and a really balanced product, so there's going to be trade-offs. And based on our understanding of the user at this price point, wireless charging is not super popular. I think Linus might be using flagship products as a daily carry. I think as a reviewer, you have to try and step out of your personal day-to-day and try and put yourself in the shoes of the person that might buy the product and try and deliver a review based on how that person might experience it. Because I think, you know, when people watch reviews for a product, they're definitely interested in that product. They would potentially buy the product, and then they would see whether it fits their needs.
Now there are some minute changes here, like you get the phone, paperwork, but the USB cable now no longer has transparent ends like last year.
It's cost related, but also we didn't see a ton of appreciation from the phone 2A buyers to have a cable like this. I think maybe at this price point, people are more concerned about the utility of the device itself and not the accessories. I really like the transparent cable. I was a bit sad to see it disappear, but yeah, maybe we save it for the flagships.
Now about the design of the phone, people on the internet as well as in our office are divided.
Sayan, what do you think of this 3A Pro's design?
Looks heavy, but it is pretty unique, like a flaunty design.
I think it's straight out of space. Really cool.
I find this camera design very weird.
I think as an industry, we're pretty much living in Apple's world. So when Apple does something, everybody else kind of just gravitates towards what they're doing from a design perspective. So when you deviate from that, it looks different, it looks odd, and it takes time for people to get used to it.
If you have secret apps, you can add them to the folder and select the cover style and assign an icon to a folder. So that way, your app is now an icon and you can hide apps in plain sight.
I mean, if you have real secret apps, just put them in the hidden area of the OS.
Do you have any secret apps on your phone?
I don't.
The Essential Key feels like a half-baked product. It feels, ironically, not essential. The camera module on the back of the Nothing Phone 3A Pro is also enormous and heavy. It makes it a little uncomfortable to use the phone one-handed because the top of the phone is constantly pushing back due to gravity.
He mentioned two things, essential space and the camera. In essential space, we've told everybody it's a preview and we're making it better. So that's kind of a weird comment from his side, I think, especially considering that Apple Intelligence promised the world and basically shipped nothing. Maybe we should just look at his iPhone review with Apple Intelligence to see how he positioned that. And on the camera, some people might love it, some people might not like it, it's fine. But the weight balancing is actually really good. There's no obvious extra weight just because the top of the phone has the big camera module. It's actually a really well balanced phone, and you can also use the ridge of the camera module to rest your finger. And the bottom part of the phone and the top part of the phone have a pretty good weight distribution.
I like the subtle design changes that Nothing has done in these phones, but the transparency and glyph lights are kind of losing their essence.
We've only made phones for 2 years in our entire kind of history, so it's going to be a lot of new people discovering the glyph interface for the first time. If you want to build an identity, you have to stick to your guns. You can't just do A one day and then B another day, and then you end up a watered down version of something that nobody knows what you stand for anymore.
For 3A, 7S Gen 3 is still fine, but for 3A Pro, I think Nothing should have given a more powerful processor because the competing phones are just way too ahead.
I have a couple of thoughts. Like, first of all, we're not a processor sales company. It's not like a bazaar where you just buy a processor and the phone is just on top, like whatever is apart from the processor. If the processor was the only thing that mattered, then Qualcomm would just be the biggest smartphone manufacturer in the world.
This is the brand new iPhone 16e, and I was gonna review the iPhone separately from the Nothing 3A Pro, but I thought this would be a good opportunity to showcase what you can get in the Android market for around the same price or even a lot less.
So this made me really curious. Did he put two reviews into one, or did he review the iPhone and then put the iPhone into the second video? If he was going to make two videos and only made one, that means we won because Apple got one less dedicated review.
Yeah, he did just do the one.
It's great. I'm sure they're annoyed, and that makes me happy.
So now, quite frankly, this feature, not really appealing to me, but I can see how some people might like this. I'm glad they didn't do what everybody else is doing and turning this into a glorified camera button, but I would have loved the option to be able to remap it to, let's say, a different application, because I'm not someone for this essential space feature.
Yeah, I get that type of thinking, and it's an idea that also has crossed our minds, but I do think we need to stick to our guns and give the essential space product a chance to shine, especially as we have a very exciting roadmap and we're deploying against it. We just have to be confident that given the pretty bare bones nature of the product today, people are already finding a lot of value in it, so I think it's just going to get better from here on out.
The thing that the iPhone really sucks at is still having a low refresh screen. 60 Hertz, we're still here in 2025.
A couple of years ago, when the industry moved from 60 to 90, I could immediately tell a difference between 60 and 90, and after using 90 Hertz, I couldn't go back to 60. Now with 120, I can't go back to 90. I think a lot of us in the industry, be it the device manufacturers or the tech reviewers, like, we're kind of stuck in our own bubble. I think a regular person might not be able to notice. So let's look at the sales numbers for the 16e. I think it might be a really solid product. We've heard rumors about it for a couple of years that smartphone brands that are way bigger than us are paying people to write negative things about us to either make up or blow up problems out of proportion to then get potential consumers who are considering Nothing to not consider our products. Pretty happy that this is happening because companies that are 150 times bigger than us are scared of us and they want to make the reputation of our products more negative. I think that's a sign of respect, but I think this is not good for the consumer because then the product doesn't get judged by the merits of the product itself, but by targeted negativity. It would be the best for the consumers if everybody was competing on a level playing field and everybody worked really hard to try and make the best products possible. I think that's like a more healthy environment, so hopefully we can eventually get to that.